Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the stars through the large window. His hands were behind his back as he thought about the meeting that would happen in just 2 hours. The aliens had asked to meet with humans for the first time. They wanted to see what humans called their best warship. The message from the Zephyrians had been clear. They were part of something called the Galactic Council. Many different alien races worked together in this group, Zephyrian said. They wanted to welcome humans to join them. But first, they needed to see if humans were strong enough to be useful. Commander Lisa Park walked up to Morrison. She was the ship's expert on alien life. Her job was to help humans understand other species. She carried a tablet with information about the Zephyrians. "Admiral, I've been studying their language patterns," Lisa said. "They seem to think we are very young and weak. Their messages show they believe our technology is far behind theirs." Morrison nodded slowly. He had read the same reports. Zephyrians had been watching human space for months. They listened to human radio signals and watched human ships move between planets. What they saw made them think humans were not very advanced. "What do they know about our military?" "Not much, that is true," Lisa replied. "They think our ships use old rocket engines. They believe our weapons are simple missiles and bullets. They have no idea what we can really do." Captain Alex Turner joined them on the bridge. He was Morrison's second in command and had been with him for 10 years. Alex was good at reading people and situations. He could tell when someone was lying or trying to trick them. "The alien ship just appeared on our sensors," Alex said. "It's big, sir. Much bigger than our ship. The computer says it's about 5 times larger than the Defiant." Morrison looked at the display screen. The Zephyrian ship looked like a giant crystal floating in space. It had smooth surfaces that seemed to glow with their own light. Beautiful patterns of energy moved across its hull like flowing water. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper called from his station. "Admiral, they're scanning us with some kind of energy beam. It's not harmful, but they're trying to look inside our ship." "Let them look," Morrison said with a small smile.
"I'll make sure they only see what we want them to see."
Ryan understood immediately. The Defiant had many secrets hidden beneath its simple appearance. The ship looked like a basic exploration vessel from the outside. But it was much more than that. The humans had learned long ago that it was better to appear weak when you were actually strong, Dr. Kate Bennett. The ship's chief scientist was at another station studying the alien ship. She was excited to meet a new species, but also nervous. These aliens would decide if humans could join the galaxy's community or if they would be ignored. "Their ship uses plasma energy for power," Kate said. "The energy readings are very high. They definitely have more raw power than we do." Morrison was not worried about power. Humans had learned that being smart was often better than being strong. The Defiant might look weak, but it had abilities that no alien would expect. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Wright stood near the weapons station. He was the military expert on board. His job was to understand how other species fought wars. He had been studying Zephyrian tactics for weeks. "Sir, based on their ship design, they like to use overwhelming force," Sam said. "Their weapons are built for destroying things quickly. Probably expect their enemies to run away when they see how powerful they are, and what do they expect from us?" Morrison asked. "They think we will be scared and impressed. They want us to beg to join their council." Morrison walked to his command chair. He had been in the military for 25 years. He had fought in wars and negotiated peace treaties. He knew that first impressions were very important. The aliens expected to meet primitive humans with basic technology. They were going to be surprised. Commander Tony Garcia was at the tactical station. He was responsible for the ship's weapons and defenses. Tony was reviewing the plans for their demonstration. The humans had decided to show the aliens something interesting. "All systems are ready, Admiral," Tony said. "The special equipment is powered up and waiting." Communications Officer Amy Foster received a message from the alien ship. "Sir, the Zephyrians are asking permission to come aboard. Their leader wants to meet you in person." Morrison thought for a moment. Meeting on the human ship would give them advantages. But the aliens had suggested meeting on their ship first. It was probably a test to see if humans were brave enough to visit an alien vessel. "Tell them we accept their invitation," Morrison said. "We will visit their ship as planned." but ask if they would like to see our ship afterward. Ami sent the message and waited for a reply. The answer came back quickly. They say, "Yes, Admiral." They sound amused by the request. I think they believe there is nothing interesting to see on our ship. Dr. Nina Walsh, the ship's doctor, joined the group preparing to visit the aliens. She would monitor everyone's health during the meeting. She also carried medical scanners that could learn about alien biology. "Remember, everyone," Morrison said to his team, "we are explorers and scientists first. We are peaceful people who want to make friends. Let them believe we are simple and harmless." The team understood. They had practiced this many times. Key was to appear honest and open while keeping their real abilities secret. The aliens would judge humans based on this first meeting, as the shuttle prepared to take them to the alien ship. Morrison felt confident. The Zephyrians thought they were meeting primitive humans. Instead, they were about to encounter something they had never seen before. Humans who were much more dangerous than they appeared. The adventure was about to begin. The human shuttle moved slowly toward the massive alien ship. Admiral Morrison sat with his team as they got their first close look at Zephyrian technology. The crystal ship was even more impressive up close. Patterns of blue and green light moved across its surface like living things. "Their ship is beautiful," Dr. Kate Bennett whispered. She was recording everything with her scanner. The alien technology was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Commander Lisa Park was nervous but excited. This was the moment she had trained. For her whole life, meeting a new alien species was the dream of every xenobiologist. She checked her translation device one more time. The shuttle entered a large opening in the alien ship. The docking bay was huge and filled with soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Several alien ships were parked inside. They were smaller than the main ship, but still larger than most human vessels. As the humans stepped out of their shuttle, they saw the Zephyrians for the first time. The aliens were tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. They had large dark eyes and moved with smooth, graceful motions. Their clothing looked like it was made of the same crystal material as their ship. Admiral Kethfer approached the human group. He was clearly the leader of the aliens. He wore a more elaborate uniform with golden patterns that sparkled in the light. When he spoke, his voice was deep and musical. "Welcome, humans," Kethfer said through the translation device. "I am Admiral Kethfer of the Zephyrian fleet. We are pleased to finally meet your species in person." Morrison stepped forward and gave a polite bow. "Thank you for inviting us, Admiral. I am Jake Morrison, commander of the human vessel Use Defiant. We are honored to meet representatives of the Galactic Council." Kethfer's expression showed what looked like amusement. His large eyes seemed to be studying the humans carefully. "Your ship is much smaller than we expected. Is this truly your most advanced warship?" "The Defiant represents our current exploration and defense capabilities," Morrison replied carefully. He did not lie, but he also did not tell the whole truth. The alien admiral gestured for the humans to follow him. "Come, let us show you what real galactic technology looks like. Perhaps you will understand why joining the council requires certain standards." The group walked through corridors that seemed to be carved from single pieces of crystal. The walls glowed with their own light, and strange symbols moved across surfaces like living writing. Everything was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges anywhere. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Wright was quietly observing everything. He noticed that the alien ship was designed for beauty rather than function. The corridors were wide and decorative but would be difficult to defend if attacked. The aliens seemed to care more about looking impressive than being practical. They entered a large room that Kethfer called the command center. Dozens of Zephyrians worked at stations that looked like works of art. Holographic displays showed star maps and ship positions. Everything hummed with energy and activity. "This is where we control our fleet of 300 ships," Kethfer said proudly. "Each ship is equipped with plasma cannons that can destroy asteroids. Our shields can stop any weapon we have encountered." Dr. Kate Bennett was amazed by the technology, but also concerned. The aliens were clearly showing off their military power. This was not just a friendly meeting. It was a test to see if humans were strong enough to be useful allies, or if they were too weak to matter. "Commander." Tony Garcia pretended to be impressed while secretly noting weaknesses in the alien systems. The Zephyrian technology was powerful, but seemed to follow predictable patterns. Their tactical displays showed they preferred direct attacks with overwhelming force. "Your weapons are very impressive," Morrison said politely. "Would it be possible to see a demonstration?" Kethfer seemed pleased by the request. "Of course. We will show you why the Zephyrian fleet is feared across the galaxy." The aliens led the humans to an observation deck with large windows looking out into space. Several Zephyrian warships moved into formation outside. They were sleek and deadly-looking, with weapon ports glowing with contained energy. "Watch carefully," Kethfer said. "We will destroy those old asteroids for your education." Alien ships opened fire with beams of brilliant plasma energy. The asteroids exploded in flashes of light and debris. The demonstration was impressive and clearly meant to intimidate the humans. Communications. Officer Amy Foster acted suitably amazed while secretly recording everything with hidden sensors. The plasma weapons were powerful but had limitations. They required time to charge between shots and seemed to drain a lot of energy from the ships. "Remarkable," Morrison said. "Your weapons are indeed formidable. How do your shields work?" Another Zephyrian officer activated a display showing their defensive technology. Energy barriers surrounded their ships like glowing bubbles. "Our shields can absorb tremendous amounts of energy," the officer explained. "Few weapons can penetrate them." Dr. Nina Walsh was studying the aliens themselves while they demonstrated their technology. She noticed they seemed very confident, almost arrogant. They clearly believed they were superior to humans in every way. "Now," Kethfer said, turning to Morrison, "perhaps you would like to show us your human technology? We are curious to see what your species has accomplished." Morrison smiled politely. "We would be honored to give you a tour of our ship, though I warn you, our technology may seem primitive compared to your achievements." Kethfer and several other aliens laughed softly. "We're sure it will be educational for us to see how younger species approach space travel," he said. As the group prepared to return to the human shuttle, Commander Lisa Park noticed something interesting. The aliens kept referring to humans as a younger species and talking about their primitive technology. But she had also noticed that some of their equipment showed signs of strain during the weapons demonstration. The Zephyrian technology was impressive, but seemed to have hidden problems. Their ships were beautiful, but might not be as invincible as they appeared. Lisa stored this information away for later discussion with the Admiral. The shuttle trip back to the Defiant was quiet. The human team was processing everything they had seen and heard. The aliens had clearly expected to intimidate them with superior technology. Now, it was time to show the Zephyrians what human engineering could accomplish. Morrison looked at his team. They all understood what needed to happen next. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitive humans who would be grateful to join their galactic community. They were about to discover that humans were much more interesting than they had assumed. The real demonstration was about to begin. The alien shuttle docked with the UES Defiant with a soft bump. Admiral Kethfer and 5 other Zephyrians stepped aboard the human ship. They looked around with curious expressions, clearly expecting to see primitive technology. The human ship looked plain compared to the beautiful crystal vessel they had just left. The walls were metal gray, and the lighting was simple white. Everything seemed basic and functional rather than artistic. "Welcome aboard the Defiant," Admiral Morrison said as he greeted his guests. "I apologize that our ship is not as impressive as yours. We focus more on practical design than beauty." Kethfer nodded with what looked like sympathy. "We understand. Young species must work with limited resources. Please, show us what you have accomplished." Commander Lisa Park led the group down a corridor toward the medical section. The aliens walked slowly, examining everything with their large, dark eyes. They seemed to be cataloging human technology for their reports. "This is our medical bay," Dr. Nina Walsh said as they entered a room filled with strange equipment. "We can treat injuries and illnesses here." One of the Zephyrian officers looked at a surgical table with mild interest. "Your medical tools seem quite basic. How do you repair serious injuries?" Dr. Walsh smiled and activated one of her machines. "Perhaps a demonstration would be helpful. Amy, could you bring that damaged component from the engine room? Communications?" Officer Amy Foster brought in a piece of metal that had been bent and cracked. It looked like it came from some kind of machinery. Dr. Walsh placed it on the surgical table. This part was damaged in a recent accident, she explained. Watch what our medical nanobots can do. She pressed several buttons and tiny robots appeared. On the metal surface, they were so small, the aliens had to look closely to see them. The nanobots began working on the damaged metal, rebuilding it at the molecular level. The Zephyrians watched in growing amazement as the bent metal straightened itself. The cracks filled in and disappeared. Within minutes, the damaged part looked brand new. Fascinating, Kethver said, leaning closer. Your nanobots work on metal as well as biological tissue? They can repair almost anything, Dr. Walsh replied. Broken bones, damaged organs, even genetic defects. The nanobots rebuild everything at the cellular level. The aliens exchanged glances. Their own medical technology was advanced, but they had never seen anything that could repair damage so completely. They began to realize that human medicine might be more sophisticated than they had assumed. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper joined the group as they moved to the next section. This is our engineering deck, he said. Would you like to see how we modify our ship for different missions? Modify? Asked one of the Zephyrian officers. You mean you change the ship's structure? The time, Ryan replied cheerfully. He walked to a control panel and pressed several buttons. Computer, reconfigure Section 7 for cargo transport. The aliens stepped back in shock as the walls around them began to move. Bulkheads slid apart, floors adjusted their height, and the ceiling rearranged itself. Within minutes, the room had completely changed shape and size. How is this possible? Kethver demanded. His voice showed the first signs of real concern. Modular construction, Ryan explained.
Oh.
Every part of our ship can be rearranged as needed. We can convert cargo bays to laboratories, living quarters to weapon stations, or recreation areas to medical facilities. The ship adapts to whatever mission we need to accomplish. The Zephyrians had never seen anything like this. Their ships were built for specific purposes and could not be changed. The human vessel was like a living thing that could reshape itself. Captain? Alex Turner appeared as they moved toward the communications center. Admiral Morrison thought you might be interested in our information systems. He said to the alien visitors, Amy Foster was waiting at her station with a pleasant smile. Our communication equipment might seem simple, but it has some interesting features. Would you like to see how we gather information? Before the aliens could answer, Amy activated her screens. Data began flowing across multiple displays. The Zephyrians looked closer and then froze in horror. The screens showed detailed maps of their home star system, ship positions, defense, installations, and military bases were all clearly marked. Even more shocking was a complete breakdown of their communication codes and security protocols. How do you have this information? Kethver asked in a voice that was no longer friendly. We've been listening to your transmissions, Amy replied calmly. Your communication systems are very sophisticated, but they follow predictable patterns. Our computers mapped your entire network during our first conversation. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Wright stepped forward. We've been analyzing your military tactics as well. Your ships are powerful, but your formations are rigid. You rely on overwhelming force rather than flexible strategy. The aliens were beginning to understand that they had made a serious mistake. The humans were not the primitive species they had assumed. The plain appearance of the human ship was hiding capabilities that exceeded their own in several important areas. Lieutenant Dan Brooks joined the group with a tablet full of information. We've also been studying your political structure. The Galactic Council has internal conflicts that could be exploited. Several member species are unhappy with Zephyrian leadership. Kethver's blue skin seemed to grow paler. You have been spying on us this entire time? We prefer to call it intelligence gathering, Morrison replied calmly. We always research new contacts thoroughly. It's a matter of survival. Commander Tony Garcia activated a wall display showing the current tactical situation. We know the exact position of every Zephyrian ship within 50 light-years. We've identified their weapons capabilities, shield frequencies, and communication protocols. The display showed far more detail than should have been possible. The humans had somehow gathered intelligence that took the Zephyrians years to collect. about their own forces. "This is impossible," one of the alien officers whispered. "Our security systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. Security through obscurity only works when your opponent can't see the patterns," Alex Turner explained. "Human intelligence methods focus on analysis rather than brute force scanning. You watch, listen, and learn." Dr. Kate Bennett activated another display showing Zephyrian biology and technology. "We've also learned quite a bit about your species. Your energy-based technology is impressive, but has significant limitations. The power requirements create vulnerabilities that could be exploited." The aliens realized they were looking at a complete intelligence profile of their entire civilization. The humans had gathered more information in a few months than most species collected in years of formal contact. Admiral Morrison watched the aliens process this information. Their confident expressions had changed to worried concern. They were beginning to understand that the simple human ship contained capabilities they had never imagined. "Perhaps," Morrison said quietly, "we should discuss the terms of our relationship with the Galactic Council as equals rather than as supplicants." Demonstration was having exactly the effect the humans had hoped for. Admiral Morrison looked at the worried faces of the Zephyrian visitors. They had come aboard expecting to see primitive human technology. Instead, they had discovered capabilities that challenged everything they thought they knew about this new species. "I think it's time to show you what the Defiant really is," Morrison said calmly. He walked to a communication panel and pressed several buttons. "Computer, cancel stealth protocol. Reveal full ship configuration." The aliens looked confused. They had no idea what Morrison meant by stealth protocol. Then the ship began to change around them. Warning lights flashed as hidden panels slid open throughout the vessel. The walls that had looked like simple metal revealed themselves to be complex armor systems. Weapon ports appeared where none had existed moments before. The entire ship seemed to grow larger as concealed sections expanded outward. "Admiral." Kethfer stumbled backward as a massive gun turret emerged from what had been a blank wall. "What is happening to your ship?" he demanded. "We're showing you our true nature," Captain Alex Turner replied. "The Defiant isn't just an exploration vessel. It's a fully armed warship disguised as a peaceful research ship." The transformation continued for several minutes. Additional armor plating deployed like the scales of some giant metal creature. Sensor arrays unfolded from hidden compartments. Energy weapons emerged from concealed housings throughout the ship. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper monitored the systems as they came online. "All weapons are now active, Admiral. Shields are at full power. The ship is ready for combat operations." The Zephyrians watched in horror as energy readings spiked across their scanning devices. The human ship's power output had increased by more than 500%. What they had thought was a weak vessel now showed energy signatures that rivaled their largest battleships. "This is impossible," whispered one of the alien officers. "Our sensors detected nothing." "How did you hide so much equipment?" Commander Tony Garcia smiled as he explained. "Human military doctrine is based on deception. We learned long ago that appearing weak when you are strong gives you tremendous advantages. Every human ship has hidden capabilities." Lieutenant Dan Brooks activated a tactical display that showed the true specifications of the Defiant. Aliens saw weapon systems they had never encountered before. Defensive measures that seemed to violate known physics. Electronic warfare capabilities that could shut down entire fleets. "Your plasma weapons are impressive," Tony continued, "but they're also predictable. They require time to charge and follow straight-line trajectories. Our weapons use different principles entirely." He demonstrated by firing a test shot into empty space. Instead of a bright plasma beam, the human weapon produced what looked like a ripple in space itself. The effect was almost invisible, but completely devastating to anything it touched. "Gravitational disruption technology," Dr. Kate Bennett explained. "We don't just destroy the target, we alter the fundamental forces holding it together. Very effective against energy shields." The aliens realized that their supposedly impenetrable defenses would be useless against weapons that worked on completely different principles. The humans had developed technology that made traditional combat obsolete. Communications. Officer Amy Foster received a message from the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral, the alien fleet is moving to surround us. I think they're getting nervous. Morrison nodded. Show them our defensive capabilities, Amy. Let them see what happens when someone tries to threaten a human ship. Amy activated the ship's electronic warfare systems. Within seconds, every Zephyrian vessel in the area lost control of their navigation computers. Their weapon systems went offline. Even their life support began experiencing mysterious problems. "Have you done to our ships?" Kethver demanded, panic clear in his voice. "Nothing permanent," Amy replied cheerfully. "We've just taken temporary control of their computer systems. We could have shut everything down completely, but that seemed unfriendly. The demonstration was terrifying in its implications. The humans had disabled an entire alien fleet without firing a shot. If they had chosen to be hostile, the Zephyrians would have been helpless." Lieutenant Colonel Sam Wright pulled up intelligence files on his tablet. "Your military tactics assume that battles are fought between visible opponents using direct force. Human warfare evolved differently. You prefer to win fights before they begin. You show them analysis of every major Zephyrian military engagement for the past century. The humans had studied their enemies' methods and developed specific countermeasures for each tactic. We know how you fight because we've been watching you fight others," Sam explained. "Your strategies work well against species that use similar methods. They won't work against us." Dr. Nina Walsh added her own disturbing revelation. "We've also analyzed your biology. Your species has several exploitable weaknesses. Specific sound frequencies can disrupt your nervous system. Certain light patterns can cause temporary blindness. We could disable your entire crew without harming them." The aliens were learning that humans approached warfare as a science rather than an art. Every aspect of their enemies was studied and analyzed until weaknesses could be identified and exploited. Captain Turner walked to a window and looked out at the disabled Zephyrian fleet. "Your ships are beautiful and powerful, but they're also predictable. You built them to impress enemies and to surrender rather than to actually fight determined opponents." Morrison made a decision that would change everything. "Computer, transmit our full technical specifications to the Galactic Council. Let every member species see exactly what they're dealing with." The data transmission lasted only a few seconds, but its impact would be felt across the galaxy. Every major power would now know that humans possessed technology and tactics far beyond what anyone had imagined. "Why are you revealing your secrets?" Kethver asked in confusion. "Because secrets only work when your enemies don't know you have them," Morrison replied. "Now everyone knows we're dangerous. It makes us safer, not more vulnerable." Amy Foster began receiving messages from dozens of alien civilizations. The technical data had caused panic throughout the Galactic Council. Species that had ignored humanity were now demanding immediate diplomatic meetings. "The Altarian Empire wants to establish trade relations," Amy reported. "The Vegan Confederacy is offering a military alliance. Centauri Republic is asking for technology sharing agreements." Within hours, humanity had gone from being ignored to being the most sought-after species in the galaxy. The revelation of their true capabilities had completely changed the balance of power. Morrison looked at the stunned Zephyrian delegation. "I believe we need to renegotiate the terms of our relationship with the Galactic Council as equals, not as junior members." Seeking approval? 3 weeks after the demonstration aboard the UES Defiant, Bato Morrison stood before the full assembly of the Galactic Council. Representatives from over 40 different species filled the massive chamber on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. The atmosphere was tense with nervous energy. The revelation of human military capabilities had sent shockwaves throughout known space. Species that had dismissed Earth as an insignificant backwater world were now scrambling to establish diplomatic relations. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted overnight. Admiral Kethver sat with the Zephyrian delegation. His expression, much more respectful than it had been during their first meeting. The arrogance that had marked their initial contact was gone, replaced by careful consideration and genuine concern. Commander Lisa Park stood beside Morrison as his chief advisor on alien relations. Her expertise in understanding different species had become invaluable as humanity navigated its new position in galactic politics. Dr. Kate Bennett flanked his other side, representing human scientific achievements. The council speaker, an ancient being from the Aldorian species, called for attention. We gather today to formally welcome humanity into the Galactic Council and to discuss the implications of their technological revelations. Morrison stepped forward to address the assembly. Fellow beings of the galaxy, humanity comes before you not as conquerors, but as partners. We have shown you our capabilities not to threaten, but to establish ourselves as equals worthy of respect. A murmur ran through the chamber. Many species were still processing the fact that humans had developed technology that surpassed their own in several critical areas. The strategic implications were staggering. The representative from the Reguline Collective spoke first. Humanity's deception capabilities are concerning. How do we know other species among us aren't hiding similar secrets? Captain Alex Turner answered the question. Our methods developed from necessity. Earth's history included many conflicts that taught us the value of appearing peaceful while maintaining strong defenses. We prefer cooperation, but prepare for conflict. Admiral Kethver rose to address the assembly. I have seen human technology firsthand. Their capabilities exceeded our highest estimates by significant margins. More importantly, they could have used these abilities to harm us, but chose restraint instead. The Zephyrian Admiral's words carried weight throughout the chamber. His species had a reputation for military excellence, and his admission of human superiority was not taken lightly. By the other council members, Commander Tony Garcia activated a holographic display showing human defensive doctrine. Our military philosophy is based on deterrence through hidden strength. We would rather prevent wars than fight them. We are prepared to defend ourselves and our allies if necessary. The display showed how human tactics differed from standard galactic warfare. Instead of massive fleets meeting in direct combat, humans preferred psychological warfare, electronic disruption, and strategic deception to achieve victory with minimal casualties. Dr. Nina Walsh presented information about human adaptability. Our species evolved on a world with diverse environments and constant challenges. This taught us to be flexible and creative in solving problems. We approach each situation differently rather than following rigid patterns. The council representatives were beginning to understand that humanity represented a new type of galactic power. Traditional military thinking assumed that advanced species would follow predictable development paths. Humans had taken a completely different approach. Communications. Officer Amy Foster demonstrated human information gathering capabilities by displaying real-time intelligence on every major fleet movement in the galaxy. The precision and scope of human surveillance networks impressed and worried the assembled aliens. We monitor galactic communications not to spy on our friends, to maintain awareness of potential threats, Amy explained. Our networks allow us to respond quickly to emerging crises and offer assistance where needed. Lieutenant Don Brooks presented analysis of galactic political structures that revealed instabilities most species were unaware of. We've identified several potential conflict zones where our mediation services could prevent larger wars. Humanity offers our diplomatic expertise to help maintain peace. The offer was significant. Human analytical capabilities could predict and prevent conflicts before they escalated into major wars. This represented tremendous value to the galactic community. The representative from the Andromedon Federation asked the question many were thinking. What does humanity want in return for sharing these capabilities with the Council? Morrison smiled diplomatically. We want what every species wants: security for our people, opportunities for trade and cultural exchange, and the chance to contribute to galactic civilization. We're not interested in domination, only in mutual prosperity. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper added practical details. Our modular construction techniques could revolutionize ship design throughout the galaxy. Our medical nanobots could eliminate diseases that have plagued various species for millennia. We're willing to share these technologies with council members. The offer of technological sharing was unprecedented. Most species guarded their advanced capabilities jealously. Humanity's willingness to cooperate openly demonstrated their commitment to peaceful coexistence. The Council. Speaker called for a formal vote on humanity's membership status. The result was unanimous approval, with several species offering immediate alliance agreements. Admiral Kethfer approached Morrison after the formal session ended. "I owe you an apology, Admiral. You greatly underestimated your species. I hope the Zephyrians can be among your first true allies in the galaxy." Morrison clasped the alien's hand in a gesture of friendship. "We would be honored to work with your people, Admiral. Your fleet's experience combined with our tactical innovations could ensure peace throughout this region of space. The partnership between humans and Zephyrians would become a model for other species." Within months, similar alliances formed throughout the galaxy as civilizations recognized the benefits of cooperating with humanity. Dr. Kate Bennett joined a joint research project with Andromedon scientists to develop new medical technologies. Commander Lisa Park established the first interspecies cultural exchange program. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Wright began training alien military officers in human tactical methods, communications. Officer Amy Foster coordinated the new Galactic Early warning system that used human surveillance networks to monitor for potential threats. The system would prevent countless conflicts in the years to come as the U.S. Defiant prepared to return to Earth. The crew reflected on how much had changed. They had left as explorers representing an unknown species. They were returning as ambassadors of one of the galaxy's most respected civilizations. Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars. In just a few weeks, humanity had earned its place among the great powers of the galaxy. They had proven that sometimes the most dangerous opponents were those who appeared the most peaceful. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. More importantly, humans had established themselves as protectors of peace rather than agents of war. Their reputation for hidden strength had become a force for stability. Throughout known space, Earth's children had finally taken their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians of galactic civilization. The future held unlimited possibilities for cooperation and mutual growth. The adventure was just beginning.